DJ and PK brought to you in part by the Utah RV Show. Find the largest and greatest selection of RVs in the state at the 2024 Utah RV Super Show, September 12th to the 15th at the Mount America Expo Center. See the newest models as well as the best remaining inventory from this year. Visit the website and enter to win a family 4-pack of tickets. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone, and we're joined now by Cody Tucker, founder and publisher of 7220 Sports, covering the Wyoming Cowboys. Cody, good morning.
Gentlemen, thanks for having me on. As always, appreciate you guys.
Well, thanks for coming on once again. Obviously, we follow from Wyoming from a distance. We talked to you in the spring, coaching transition, and those can always be a little dicey. And acknowledging all of that, I think everyone is still surprised by how poorly it's gone for Wyoming through 2 games. Obviously, a lot of stuff's gone wrong. In your mind, what's the most important thing or two that's gone wrong here?
I tell you what, man, we got kind of spoiled with Craig Bull over the last decade as far as, a big thing that stuck out so far is discipline and the penalties. 16 penalties through 2 games, and we're talking the really stupid kind. The 4 guys lined up in the backfield stuff, the egregious holds on the outside. Two flags they've drawn so far this year. Jay Savell said they didn't even have plays on. The quarterback was literally going back to clap to try and draw the defense offside, and Wyoming's jumped twice. So just really, really mind-numbing stuff. And last week it reared its ugly head big time against Idaho. They had a chance. They had the ball at the 50 with 5 yards to go, or at the 50 with 5 minutes to go, and committed 3 penalties and went backwards to the tune of about 35 yards. So just killing themselves in every way. And then on defense, also been spoiled with unbelievable defenses and tackling has been a huge issue. At Arizona State, it was unbelievable. And so just stuff like that, and yeah, you're right. It's a new head coach, new quarterback, all that stuff. But this was a 9-win team with 18 starters coming back, not to mention the head coach has been the defensive coordinator for the last 4 years. So you guys are stunned. We are very stunned at this poor start for the Cowpokes.
So I go back and I look at the research I did in the summer and in the off season, right, to get prepared. And it always happens. I look back and I keep files so I can review it. And we're just a couple of ball games in, so it's not like the season can't turn around. But one of the things that I had written down is, oh, man, Wyoming ought to be good on offense with only one guy not returning on the offensive line. And so, they did lose their top 3 receivers, but they had a good running back coming in and all this stuff. And through 2 games, I watched most of the ASU game, didn't see the Idaho game, but look at the stats. It doesn't look like the offense has done near enough to the level that I thought it would. What's your evaluation of that?
Well, as always, guys, it starts up front, and you're right. There are 4 returning starters, and that's been, pretty shocking too. The offensive line has been a real strength around here for a long time, as well as the run game. It definitely doesn't help that, Harrison Whaley is on the shelf. He hurt his knee 2 weeks before the regular season, had to get a little scope, and he's still out. He was nearly a 1,000-yard guy last year, and he only played in 8 games, I want to say. So that one hurts for sure. But, the offensive line has just not played up to their standard. And then behind him, Evan Svoboda, that was his 3rd start ever against Idaho. And it's sometimes hard to remember that and remind yourself of that, because his first start came at Texas last year in front of 100,000 plus, and he really was so poised and calm in that game and really made some nice plays, and that was a 10-10 game going into the 4th quarter. He didn't do anything crazy, but, you would expect somebody making their first start might make quite a few mistakes inside that stadium in that atmosphere. But he has just not been on target so far, and in my opinion, he just kind of looks stiff and wound up, and just something is not flowing. He just doesn't look like he's playing football to me, like he's thinking way too much, and they haven't really rolled him out of the pocket much. And, in talks with his high school quarterback or his high school coordinator and head coach, they said, to have the most success with him, he needs to roll out and he needs to get involved in the run game, and that just hasn't really happened so far. So the wide receivers too, you said they were missing 3. We kind of looked at that as maybe a positive, because we've heard about so many young guys behind them that are waiting to get their turn. And It all coincides, right? If the offensive line's not blocking, the quarterback can't do his job. If the wide receivers aren't getting open, there were 4 sacks last week, 3 given up by the right tackle, which just doesn't happen. And is it the quarterback hanging on to the ball too long? Is it guys not getting open downfield? To be frank with you guys, it's been a disaster on offense so far.
BYU's coming off a game where they turned the ball over 3 times. Obviously, when you have that kind of issue and they were a quarterback fumble and 2 picks, the simplest thing to do is establish a run game. How much faith do you have in Wyoming's run defense right now?
Feeling better about that after Idaho, for sure. Arizona State, man, they just look like a shell of themselves, and they really got bullied in every phase of that game. And Wyoming defenses have been so good and so stout for so long, especially at the middle linebacker spot, and it didn't really start clicking until, second half last week against Idaho. They started looking more like themselves. They didn't give up any points. However, they haven't even come close to forcing a turnover. Last week I think there was a fumbled exchange by Idaho. Other than that, I mean, they are not putting the helmet on the ball. And they really had a 10-minute lull in the first half where they played soft, and Idaho took full advantage and built that lead. And with Wyoming's offensive problems, it was enough. It was enough to get the job done. So the Cowboys have really struggled in that department. Arizona State, it was ugly, guys. I've been to, upward of darn near 300 Wyoming games in my life, and that was definitely in the top 3 worst games I've ever witnessed.
How much do you think on that as Svoboda he's a local kid, so he wants to do well. His first pass of the season gets picked, and it's a pick 6. And then I think right after that, there was another interception over across the middle. I'm wondering if it was the snowball effect there in that game. And they're really not that bad. But then I look at the Idaho game, and I'm thinking, maybe they are.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the best way a reader put it perfectly, you guys remember Super Bowl 48, the first snap of the game goes over Peyton Manning's head. It's a safety. The Seahawks roll from there. That's exactly how Arizona State went. And little shell-shocked, of course, throwing that first out route that just gets pick 6, no problem by the linebacker there. And he admitted, Evan told me 2 weeks ago, or after that game in Tempe, he told me, I had a lot of pressure. And, he was playing. He's from Mesa. He was playing less than 10 miles away from home. And his family, had a bunch of people there. They had a suite, the whole 9. And, of course, you ask those questions leading up to it, but you don't really know. He didn't feel like that would be a problem, but to his credit, he admitted it. And he said it was tough. And, it's pretty easy, guys, and I did this to play devil's advocate with him and go, yeah, but you started in Texas against a playoff team in front of 100,000 people. Like, you looked like you were ready for this. And the other thing a lot of people forget is Evan came in the final drive of the Arizona Bowl and led the Cowboys to a win over Toledo last year, too, called off the bench in place of Andrew Peasley. So I think we just saw those things, and people started thinking, oh, man, they're going to be in really good shape. People were calling for Svoboda to replace Peasley all last year. And, people keep saying, the ultimate pessimist keeps saying, oh, you didn't know what you had till it was gone with Craig Bowl leaving. I would argue you didn't know what you had till it was gone with Andrew Peasley leaving. So far, not so good for Evan Svoboda, but confidence remains high, and especially with the coaching staff. They keep saying and reiterating that the fans are going to be really happy that Evan Svoboda is a quarterback at Wyoming real soon. So is real soon this weekend? Wyoming fans are sure hoping so.
So obviously at 0-2, Wyoming needs a spark here. They need something to go right. Who's the player on the team who's a leader, who can make a play and change the whole vibe? Because the vibe is really negative now. And to PK's point about the snowball effect, something's got to turn that around. Who's most likely to make that happen?
Yeah, it is. It's very negative right now, no doubt about it. And by the way, BYU, there's not a better team on planet Earth to be playing right now to possibly turn things around than the Cougars. So, to me, I would say an edge rusher in Sebastian Harsh. He's a guy who's come close a couple times these first 2 games. He's been talked about for years. He had a devastating knee injury a couple of years ago that almost cost him his career. He bounced back. He's a really good pass rusher. We just have not seen the results of actually getting there and getting the job done. And we need to see a strip sack out of him. Need to see a couple sacks out of him in a game, and that could really turn some things around in flip field position and things of that nature. But I would like to see Sebastian Harsh live up to his billing and do that and really spark this team. And to me, guys, it's right now I have no belief that the offense can do it. So I think the defense is the one that needs to create that spark. And I'm talking maybe a strip sack that gets picked up and rumbled in for a touchdown. I mean, that's how dire it's really been on the offensive side.
A lot of times across the country, when teams struggle, the fans aren't as willing to go to the games, and particularly in Wyoming, where you need the whole state to fill up the stadium. But it is BYU, and they're hated. It's right there with CSU. Obviously, I've been to that stadium many times over the years, and I know what it's like to go in there and play, particularly BYU. So, what do you think is the crowd? Can the players draw some emotion and energy from them?
Boy, you'd think so, man. This game has been circled for a long, long time. I think we're all under the understanding here that BYU may never be back. We may never see the Cougars in War Memorial Stadium ever again. So it's a big one. It's a really big one, and I think we all kind of waited for BYU to buy this game out. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, and the fact that they didn't, people were finally able to say, okay, this is cemented. We're excited. And, like I said, Wyoming was coming off a 9-win year, an Arizona Bowl victory. Jay Sawbell won the offseason for sure, saying all the right things. We thought maybe a missing link for this program was a player's coach. Craig Bohl was more of a CEO, tough, hard-nosed guy. And here's Jay Sawbell putting names on the back of jerseys, something that Craig Bohl wouldn't have dreamed of. And he's in the weight room lifting with guys, stuff like that. And just so far, it just has not panned out. Obviously it's early. It's very early. And like I said, there's no better team than BYU to be playing right now. And I know the fans were so excited, and they still are. But, right now there's just not a lot of reason to believe that the Cowboys can pull off an upset. So it stinks, to be honest with you, to look at it now and see people go, oh, no. Like at the beginning it was, oh, good, BYU, this is going to be awesome. And now it's, oh, no, BYU's coming. But the hatred is very real, as you said. The fans are going to be here because of some construction in the stadium. It's only down to 25,000. I expect it to be named it's going to be a sellout probably today, I would imagine, or tomorrow. But it was close anyway. A lot of venom still. Wyoming fans certainly haven't forgotten BYU. I don't know if BYU fans have forgotten Wyoming, but people are still very much looking forward to this. And this is one where if the Cowboys can turn things around and find a way to beat the Cougars, all will be right in the world, at least for Saturday night.
I would say 40, 50, and 60-year-old fans and media members have forgotten nothing, no matter where they live or what team they're closest to and all that. But I do wonder, a 20-year-old kid, these two schools have played twice since 2010, one in a bowl game. So does this really resonate with 20-year-olds, or they're hearing so much from older people that they totally get it and they are going to be breathing fire?
Yeah, the old folks. Yeah, that's a great question. It's something I asked a lot of players this week. And the cool thing is, though, is these guys, Laramie's such a small place and Wyoming's such a small, state in general population-wise, that everything they've done NIL-wise and things like that around the summer, every single person has come up to them and said, please beat BYU. So they know how big this is. But you're right. I heard an interview on the radio the other day that was shocking to me, fellas. Northern Illinois' head coach is getting interviewed after they beat Notre Dame, and he said he walked into the pregame meal and said, guys, Rocket Ishmael's not running through that tunnel. And the guys had no clue who Rocket Ishmael was. And they said, well, you've seen the movie Rudy, right? Not one person had seen the movie Rudy. So he said that was a good thing because they didn't know about the lore of Notre Dame. Coach Sawbell, however, is going to have people coming in all week talking to these guys, letting them know the importance of things like the Black 14, losing that 1996 WAC championship game, just the 88 first night game in War Memorial Stadium history when Wyoming, got to BYU's quarterback 8 times and won that game on national television, stuff like that. I mean, it's a big, big deal. You put it perfectly. It's right up there with Colorado State. The western side of the state, BYU is their number one target. For me, I grew up in Cheyenne. It was always Colorado State, but, man, we had that absolute unbelievable hatred for BYU as well. So it'll be excited to see it renewed, excited to see that Y in the stadium, but if I was to say Wyoming misses BYU, that wouldn't be entirely accurate.
Oh, yeah? Well, we hate you, too.
I love it.
Well, Cody, we appreciate the time once again. Thanks for joining the show and bring us up to speed a little bit on the Cowboys.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Appreciate you.
Cody Tucker, founder and publisher of 7220 Sports, covering the Wyoming Cowboys. 7220, the elevation.
I know.
They sell it when you get there, don't they? You are up high.
Yes, when you are in the Arena Auditorium, which is their basketball facility, which was modeled literally right after the Huntsman Center. I mean, it looks exactly
It doesn't,
like it.
yeah, you can figure that out pretty quick, right?
When you go up the tunnel and turn left to go up to their locker room, there's a big mural on the wall there that lists the elevation. So it's right in your face. You can't miss it. And covering those games in basketball, I used to require oxygen. That's how high it was.
Nice. Wish you'd been caught on camera with a mask on. That would have been great. DJ and PK, everything you missed in this show coming up next. Stay with us.